Hello, students of mine. I am going to introduce you to the course by way of the course website. So you'll notice here that this is the primary site, digginganddeepening.com, courses, /courses /272 intro film. This will be linked from the Canvas website, and this is the home page. Let's begin with the course guidelines page. So this is intended to be an introduction to cinematic language and a bit of an overview of film history. Now, obviously, trying to provide such an overview in just a few weeks when you're discussing only a few films is a bit of an impossible task. What I have attempted to do is choose roughly one film per decade, though some decades are skipped. Necessarily. Right. This is an asynchronous version of this course, obviously. And I should say from the outset that I actually don't enjoy teaching asynchronously. I'm fine with doing it, and I've made it work, but I much prefer having students in the classroom. So I encourage you, if you want to reach out to me and have a dialogue via Zoom, to do so, whether you're working on an assignment or you just want to discuss a film. I actually do encourage that kind of interaction, even though it's not embedded in the course per se. This first bit under the basics basically encourages you to reach me by email, and my available hours are going to be mixed over the summer because this is an asynchronous class, but I am usually going to be available. And this is an overview about the way that film has changed in recent years. I'm not going to read every line from what I'm about to present to you. It is very important that you read all of this material on your own so that you know what's coming, and so that if you have questions about any particular assignment details or logistics, you can follow up and ask those via email or Zoom. I will point this out. This course requires you to view films in a way that's very different from what you're probably accustomed to. First of all, I'm going to have you watch an intro video. These tend to be 10 to 15 minutes long, in which I discuss on my YouTube channel a particular idea from the film, something that I would like students to be looking for as they are watching the film, that they might not consider otherwise. I often spend 5 minutes on the film itself, preceded by 10 minutes talking about the socio-historical context for an idea, or the psychological or spiritual context, or the cinematic history behind an idea or its representation in film. And you'll also notice that I teach Intro to Film, a course on Lars von Trier, disability in film, global film. So I am drawing, some of these videos were originally created for a different class, right? So I might say a little bit more about disability studies, say, than I'm going to in this course. Just be aware of that as you're watching these. I'm pulling from a number of different film classes I've taught. And I also want you to look, before you watch the film still, look at the study questions that I've generated. Now, this is going to alter the way you look at a film, because you're going to know character names and you'll know some things to look for. I do try very hard not to give away major plot points to avoid spoilers. But this will give you an idea of what kinds of things I would encourage you to be looking for as you're watching the film, so you can watch it critically, since we are not having the opportunity to discuss the film in class as I normally would with students, as I just did last quarter, in fact. Watch the film closely. Now, if you're just running it online, I recommend, and I have an explanation for how to do this lower down, that you watch it with a browser that allows you to take screen captures. That you take screen captures every now and then as you are watching the film. This, again, will change the way you watch the film. Or perhaps you watch the entire film and then scrub back through it and take a few screen captures before you close it and lose access to the film if you were just renting it. If you want to purchase your films, more power to you. I even if I own a film on DVD and Blu-ray, I purchase it usually, if I'm teaching it, on Amazon Prime, because using Chrome with the settings that I have, I can take screen captures and I have easy access to it in the classroom. And you do want screenshots for a number of the assignments that are coming up, so I recommend taking those as you watch the film so you don't have to rent it again later on. And then you're going to watch a video lecture. These will tend to be 30 to 45 minutes in which I talk about a film. I'll say some things about the characters, their character development, the arc of the plot, and cinematic technique. I'll employ a number of the film terms that you should be that you should be familiar with at this point. And it is important that you watch that lecture closely because there are a few assignments that require you to not repeat anything that I have said, either in my intro video or in my lecture video, and to not analyze the same screenshots that I have used. This is really important. If you want credit for the assignment, you need to avoid repeating what I have said in my lecture video or my introductory video. I cannot emphasize this enough. So take note. This next section concerns disability issues. I actually am very attuned to such things as they inform the learning process. And also I publish a lot on representations of disability in fiction, so novels, poetry, and in film. So this is my wheelhouse. I think about these things often. If you want me to know something about your learning process, please let me know. This next section addresses how challenging some of this material can be. Not every film that we watch is rated G. In fact, probably none of them are. It is an intro to film class, so I'm not interested in giving students incredibly challenging, really, really difficult thematically films. I mean, I can, some of the most challenging films I've taught in the past involve films by Lars von Trier. Some of his films I've taught, some of them I've dodged teaching. I don't teach horror films usually, or gangster films with lots of violence. I'm trying to be aware of my audience, and this is an intro to film class. This is a 200 level film class. So I'm not going to put in front of you some of the most harrowing kinds of things, even though we will be watching a film that involves sexual assault. You don't see it happen, but you know it's happened. So there's some challenging material, and I just want to address that from the outset to kind of prepare you. The course goals are to get you to think critically and to express yourself and your opinions in writing in a cogent way, in a polished way, with proper grammar, whether you're writing or whether you're speaking orally, because there are a few assignments that require you to videotape yourself. Videotape, that's an archaic term, require you to record yourself and send me a URL of a video that you have uploaded. There is no textbook for this course that you have to purchase online. There is a free textbook. It's very dated. It's the Rhetoric of Film, generated by a faculty member at Cal Poly a number of years ago. And it is pre-digital film. So you will recognize how old this is when you're reading it. It does, however, provide context for some basic film ideas, film terminology, and that's why I'm using it. It's no cost to you. You can just download the PDFs here. You're also going to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I do not make any money from this. YouTube, inserts advertisements and everything. That's not a sign that I'm getting money. It says non-monetized. The site exists to encourage conversations about literature and the arts. And I often, you'll notice in my YouTube videos, cross-pollinate between literature and film. And then you need a few dollars, right, to rent your films legally, please, and also to purchase whatever film you're going to be writing on for your term paper so that you can watch it multiple times. This is an overview of the assignments and their due dates, right? So personal introduction, that's a video. A response to an existing plea, I'll explain what that is in a second. Impassioned pleas, screenshot analyses, and then down here we have the term paper outline, feedback you provide to those in your group, term paper, and another plea. So that's an overview of the deadlines. All of these assignments are due at midnight. Now let's look at what each of these is in detail. So the first thing that you're going to complete for me is a personal introduction that is a video, 3 to 4 minutes, in which you accomplish a few things. One, tell me something about yourself that you'd like me to know. I mean, I really, really prefer meeting students in person and getting to know them a bit. So if we were to meet, what would you like me to know as your professor? You can be as personal as you like, or as general as you like. Well, I won't say that. Don't be general. Don't be general in anything that you do in this class. Sometimes students are very vague, and I don't encourage that. Just share something with me that you feel good about sharing with me. Something comfortable. Identify a favorite film and why you like it. Don't be general, be specific. All right? And then I want you to discuss one particular scene from our first film, Within Our Gates, from 1920. This is the oldest extant film that we have by a director of color, by an African American. It was released in 1920 by Oscar Micheaux. So I want you to watch it and discuss a scene that I have not addressed in my intro video or in my lecture video, and there's going to be a link to that lecture video here pretty soon. And if you can manage to embed a relevant screenshot from the scene, that whatever the particular scene is that you're addressing, if you can pull a screenshot from that, that is awesome. You should be able to do that pretty easily in using Chrome, and this film is available through Canopy, which you have access to through the library online. Okay. An impassioned plea. Impassioned pleas are an opportunity for you to express an opinion and refer to yourself. I actually don't want you to refer to yourself in some other writing assignments, but for this one, you're great doing that. Here's the challenge. This is only 100 to 125 words. That is difficult to say something meaningful in just a few words, but it's a very useful assignment to give students, I have found, because in this day and age, we all have very short attention spans, and they seem to be getting shorter and shorter. So if you want to compel someone to believe something that you're saying, if you want to be convincing, you need to be able to do so succinctly, right? So 100 to 125 words. You will write a plea in response to my intro video for Ingmar Bergman's Wild Strawberries, for Dorothy Arzner's Dance Girl Dance, for Nicholas Meyer's Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, and I haven't created that video yet, but it's coming. And you'll also create one in response to my video introduction to Gran Torino, directed by Clint Eastwood. More on what an impassioned plea requires later. And there's actually a link here. You could follow that if you wished right now on your own. Responses to existing impassioned pleas. So a number of my intro videos already have posts up beneath them. For a response, you will find a post that you disagree with that already exists online at my YouTube channel, and you will respond and explain why this particular person is wrong. Now, we can all be politic and kind and disagreeing. Don't call anybody an idiot or anything like that, please. But you are going to express a dissenting opinion. You're going to disagree with one of these posts and be specific about why you think they're wrong by pointing to evidence from the film. You'll do this for Freaks. That's going to be our second film. And for Women Talking, which is our final film in this course. You will also complete a couple screenshot analyses assignments, and more on what that actually involves later. These will be, each assignment will be 150 to 250 words, broken into 2 analyses of 75 to 125 words. You'll complete one for Le Bonheur. It's a French New Wave film. This means happiness. And one for Lars von Trier's Dancer in the Dark. Oh, Le Bonheur is by Agnes Varda, very important New Wave director. Okay. In most of the courses that I teach, I allow students some freedom in choosing what they study, what they write about, just a little bit. So path 1 refers to what everyone is watching, discussing, engaging, and in the classroom that would involve quizzes and exams and lots of discussion, small group activities. That's path 1, which I was just talking about. Path 2 refers to what you as an individual are tackling in concert with 1 or 2 other students in what I call a path 2 group. Ideally, each group will have 3 students, though some will only have 2. These path 2 groups will be assigned in week 2, and there are options as to what these path 2 groups will be studying, but I'll show you the options in a little bit. This is another path 2 detail. This is an assignment, a term paper outline, in which you will, towards the end of the quarter, create an outline for your term paper, and you will explain the outline in a short video, which you will send to me along with the outline, the file, the Word document of the outline. You'll send it to me and the other 2 students in your Path 2 group, and we will provide feedback. That is what this concerns. Feedback we will provide in short videos to you. And then the term paper itself is worth 40 points. Okay. So that's a very quick overview of the assignments. There's a lot more detail coming in a moment. That detail can be found at the writing assignments link here. Let's look at the Path 1 calendar. So this is the syllabus. We're going to start out with some really early films. But actually, before we do that, I want you to watch this film, this short video that I've created where I talk about the history of human attempts to represent ourselves narratively and visually. So I talk about cave paintings all the way to early film. So watch that, and you can bring observations from that into things that you write in this class and into your posts on my YouTube channel. You'll find it. Oh, yeah. Video unavailable because it's still processing. I just uploaded it, but it'll be there momentarily. Okay, you're also going to learn film terms. And let me go ahead and make sure that something is updated here. Okay. Notice that under learn film terms, it says, oh, there we go. There's the video that I was talking about a second ago. Professor. Okay, so I have a PDF here that takes you to different film terms that you should familiarize yourself with. And I have an explanatory video, which is that is what is uploading right now, or will be soon. And it takes you through all the film terms and gives you examples of what constitutes low-key lighting, or a high angle, or what a wide-angle lens does to an image, things like that. So you want to watch this explanatory video closely. That will be linked soon. And then we will dive into Oscar Michaud's Within Our Gates, and you'll notice that every couple days there's an assignment that is due. Right here it will say due, your personal introduction. This is the one I talked about already. That is due on Tuesday. Send me a URL. Please don't send me tons of videos. Just work it out so you can upload these to your own YouTube channel. It's the best way to go about doing this. If you have another way, fine. However, but please don't inundate my inbox with lots of videos. I don't have the space for all of them. Okay, so you're going to watch my intro to Within Our Gates, right? It's right here. And then you are going to watch the film itself after having done what? Looked at the study questions. So you watch my intro, then see this colored bar right here? Right above this day, if you click on it, it takes you to the study questions for this film. So 1, you watch my intro. 2, you look at the study questions. 3, you watch the film itself, and this one is available for free through Canopy. You just go through the Cal Poly library to access that. And then the 4th thing you will do is watch my video lecture, right? Okay. And remember, with the personal introduction that you're providing, you cannot reproduce what I have said in either my intro video or my lecture video. And the lecture videos will be linked from the Path 1 calendar once they are available. I will be creating them as we go through the course. Notice that there are content warnings. This just takes you to imdb.com usually. Sometimes I've created content warnings myself here. If you don't want to know what's happening, you don't want to know about the big spoilers that involve trauma, potentially triggering material, then don't look at those, right? But for those of you who do want to be forewarned, these warnings are there for you. Right. The next film, this is still in week 1, is going to be Todd Browning's Freaks. And you will watch my intro video, look at the study questions, watch the film, and then watch the lecture video, which will appear right there. Okay. And this requires you to read The Rhetoric of Film. Chapter 1 is just a few pages long, and to provide a response to an existing plea. So you'll go to my intro video, you'll look at what has been posted there already, and you'll respond to one of those posts for this response to an existing plea. And then we have Dance Girl Dance. And so it goes. We have Dance Girl Dance. Dorothy Arzer is one of the very few women working in Hollywood in the 30s, 40s, and early 50s. Then Ingmar Bergman, his Wild Strawberries is one of his important early films, which you'll be watching. He's a very frequently celebrated filmmaker from the mid-20th century. Then Agnes Varda, who does not receive as much attention as Truffaut or Godard or other French New Wave filmmakers, but I actually prefer her work to a lot of her male contemporaries' work. So we're going to watch Happiness. And then you'll notice that there are no colored bars here. There's no link there for study questions. That's because I am generating those. Every time I teach a film class, I teach at least a couple films I've never taught before, because I like to keep it fresh for myself. So Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, a favorite of mine from my youth, which I just recently screened to great applause from those who watched it. We're going to be looking at a Star Trek film, and I like to have something sci-fi in most of my intro to film courses. So that will be serving that, this film will serve that need, that itch of mine I need to scratch. And it's an incredible film, so I hope you enjoy it. Dancer in the Dark, I teach a course on Lars von Trier, as I said. He's a very divisive filmmaker, right? So I always like to, in my courses, include a film that splits people down the middle. And the director is often controversial himself, right? So I actually have you read some articles on von Trier and what some of the people who've worked with him, like Bjork and Kirsten Dunst and Emily Watson, have said about working with him. Okay. And then Gran Torino by Clint Eastwood. That's another new film for me to teach, so the study questions are not yet there. Or the intro film, the intro video, any of that. It's all coming. Then we get into the assignment, right? So this is week 4. On Friday, you send me an outline with a video explanation. On Saturday, we all provide feedback. So mark that out in your calendars. You need to provide feedback quickly that weekend so that students, your peers, can respond to your feedback, so that they can incorporate your feedback as they set about writing out their term papers after they've received feedback on the outline for the term paper. So Monday and Tuesday, I am going to be working with students. In addition to spending much of the weekend providing feedback, I'm going to make myself available if you want to follow up and have a Zoom conference about your term paper. And then, after you've turned in your term paper, midnight on Tuesday of week 5, then we will dive into one more film, Sarah Polley's Women Talking. And this is the one that deals with sexual assault. So just be forewarned about that. Again, it does not show it, but it's very, I think, I'm not sure what word to apply to it. It's very powerful. And it's probably going to be hard for some of us. Okay. The Path 2 calendar, this just takes you to the Path 2 groups, and I said I would assign these in week 2. You'll notice that I have a series of films, not on the syllabus, that you will be engaging for your term paper. And you'll be pairing one of these Path 2 films with a Path 1 film. I'm going to slot you into these different groups. There are 15 options here, and there will only be 10 groups. Maybe 9, depends on how many students there are in the class, but probably 10. So you want to look through these, maybe look a few things up about some of these films. I'll just say at a glance, Babyface has to do with a woman who decides to sleep her way to the top of a business, and literally. So it's about commodification of the human body. Billy Wilder's The Lost Weekend is about alcohol addiction. Alfred Hitchcock's Rope concerns a few characters who decide, and I'm not spoiling anything because this happens in the first couple minutes of the film, they decide to kill someone and see if they can get away with it because they're morally superior. Ingmar Bergman's Through a Glass Darkly is about a family that is very troubled. There's a lot of different unhealthy things happening in this family. I won't go into detail on that. Agnes Varda's Cléo de 5 à 7, or From 5 to 7, takes place in under 2 hours. It's supposed to be kind of real time. And we have a young singer who has made her reputation by singing and being beautiful. And she is in the opening minutes of the film thinking about her mortality because she's going to receive word from a doctor about whether she has cancer before the day ends. This is an incredible film. All of these are really powerful, great films. Guy Green's A Patch of Blue deals with the intersectionality of race and class and gender and disability. So lots of things at work here. It's about a young blind woman who meets a professional black man. They become friends. Andrei Tarkovsky's Solaris is a sci-fi classic. It is long and slow. I think it's incredible, but it is long and slow, so just be aware. It's not as slow as, say, Stanley Kubrick's 2001, but it is long and not fast-paced like a lot of sci-fi these days. Hal Ashby's Being There is a comedy, a very understated comedy, even though it's made in America. Some might refer to the humor as a bit British, and it concerns disability issues. One of the primary characters has a cognitive disability. Rhonda Haynes' Children of a Lesser God also concerns disability and stars an actor, Marlee Matlin, who is herself deaf and part of the deaf community and plays a deaf woman in this film. So another film that is directed by a woman. I've tried to include a few of those. Agnes Varda is another one. Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing, one of his early, I think this is his third feature film, and deals with race in New York, right, in Harlem. It's a very important film, so you want to watch it at some point. I always like to teach a film that most students haven't seen. I think this quarter, Star Trek II is going to be that film. Mimi Letters, there's another female director. The Peacemaker is an action film from the 90s, and I argue that she's doing something very different from her male contemporaries who are directing action films. M. Night Shyamalan, I'm sure you've heard of him. An Indian filmmaker who is very famous for thrillers and some horror films. Unbreakable is a little bit different from his normal fare, and it's like a superhero film. This is the year 2000, the same year that Fox came out with the first X-Men film. And this kind of gets the ball rolling with superhero films in 2000. And Shyamalan does something very different from what Marvel is going to do later. I highly recommend this film. It also concerns some disability issues. Melancholia has to do with depression. And if you have struggled with depression in the past yourself, as many of us have, you might want to avoid this film unless you think it might be therapeutic to walk through a very harrowing realistic portrayal of depression. So, be forewarned. This film also has to do with the end of the world. So there's a lot of deep, heavy things happening in this film. John Michael McDonagh's Calvary is about a priest in Ireland who's attempting to minister to a community that is whack. They all have their issues, and there's some abuse going on, some physical abuse, and he's trying to figure out who's responsible for that. That's one of the things he's looking for. And he himself is going through lots of different challenges in this film. This film opens in a very hard way. The priest is receiving confession of someone, and again, I'm not spoiling much because this happens in the first 2 minutes. He's receiving confession from someone who promises to kill the priest, right? Because he himself was raped repeatedly by a priest when he was a child. So talk about heavy. This film hits squarely on a certain kind of nail, and it does not let up with the pressure. Glatzer and Westmoreland's Still Alice is about a woman who's dealing with early onset Alzheimer's. Okay? So what I want you to do is send me your top, let's say, your top 7 preferences. There's 15 here. So come up with 7. If you don't care, don't send me any preferences and I'll just slot you where I want you. But if you do care, give me your top 7 preferences in order of preference. All right? Just send those via email in week 1. And now a few more words about the writing assignments. Okay. So I have some general guidelines here about what you should do when you're writing for anything for this class. In terms of format, which does not apply to online posts, it should be structured, creative, narrowly defined. Don't try to say everything, just narrow your focus and say something important about just a few things. Provide evidence, logic. Make sure that you are providing specifics from the text, and the text here is the film, to support whatever it is that you're saying. It does not matter to me whether I agree with you as long as what you're saying is accurate. Now, what do I mean by that? Your argument can be whatever you want it to be, and it needs to be grounded in evidence from the film. If you make claims that are actually not correct, because you didn't watch the film closely enough, that's a problem. That's what I mean when I say make sure that you're precise and accurate. Use MLA style, and if you're providing a timestamp, it's the hour, followed by the minutes, followed by the seconds, separated by colons. That's the way you do it, in parentheses. And you will do that for a few assignments in this class. Make sure that it's very clear, as I said a moment ago, that you have watched the film closely before you start making claims about the film, for whatever assignment it is. Because I know these films well, and you don't want to receive feedback that it looks like you do not know the film well that you're writing about. Make sure that you peruse your work. I recommend with any writing assignment, always, write it, step away, do some other things, let your head go somewhere else for a few hours, then come back to the assignment and edit it, and you will notice things you did not notice when you were generating the material originally. And then I have some pet peeves, something, every writing instructor has things they'd like to not have to deal with, right? So please use the present tense when you're recounting events from a story or a film. Avoid words like incredible, because they don't mean anything, right? They're just like an exclamation mark. So avoid those kinds of words. Avoid referring to yourself unless it's an impassioned plea or a response to a plea, right? For the term paper, screenshot analyses, do not refer to yourself. Let your claims carry themselves without any reference to who generated those claims. Italicize the titles of films. Place the period after a parentheses to show that whatever is in the parentheses refers to what preceded it. Period goes after the parentheses. Please spell everyone's name correctly. And if you're using 2 words together as an adjective, like blue-green, it's a blue-green bottle, hyphenate, right? Unless the first of the 2 words ends in ly. Those are just a few things. I could put down, hundreds of things, but these are the things that I particularly don't want to deal with. So just use this as a checklist before you turn something in. Just run down the pet peeves and make sure you haven't committed any of these grievous crimes. All right. And if you go here, it's going to show you the color-coded system that I often use when responding to students' writing. Okay, so it's taking a while to load, but that is at my other website. Okay. Students are going to post 4 separate impassioned pleas, 125 words. This is challenging to do. You're going to have to cut. And if you're doing this, most of you, if you're doing this well, what you originally write is going to be more than 125 words. And then you're going to have to say, oh, how do I take this prepositional phrase and turn it, 4 words into one single modifier, like an adjective? Oh, I just repeated myself. I can strike that sentence altogether. Perhaps I could just rearrange the words in the sentence and reduce 15 words to 10. Right? There's all kinds of ways to pare things down. This is one of the few things I can really effectively try to encourage you to do in this class. An asynchronous course is write in few words, packs so much meaning into just a few words. So that's the single greatest thing I want you to focus on as you are working in this class when you're writing things. Okay, these impassioned pleas, as I said, are going to concern these films. Now, in my video entries, as I said, I spend some time on the film, but I talk a lot about literature or painting, sociology, the performative arts, philosophy, faith, psychology. I was a psych major in undergrad. So I'm going to bring other stuff to preparing you to watch a particular film. All right? Something very specific. Now, you are going to, in turn, take something specific that I have said in my intro video and respond to it. Again, I'm not looking for agreement. If you want to agree and support what I've said, great. If you want to disagree, great. But you need to be specific. And you need to talk about your body of knowledge, what you know about the film and about perhaps one of the disciplines that I've brought up, one of the subjects that I've brought up. So be specific in how you respond. That is the second most important thing to do when you're writing, is to be specific. Right? In addition to being terse or concise, I want you to be precise. And make sure that you are not repeating what others have said. Add something new to the conversation. Do not list the word count. I say 100 to 125 words. Do not put that in your post. That's going to take up digits on its own. So don't do that. That will work against your grade if you do that. I am going to consider voice and tone as well as mechanics. Right? So make sure that you speak in a passionate way. I call these impassioned pleas. A plea meaning a desperate request. You want to convince somebody to accept what you're saying. So feel free to use pathos, to use emotion, salient adjectives and adverbs and verbs to get your point across. Don't refer to yourself unless it's an impassioned plea, as this is. And this is the rubric, right? Okay, if you're responding to an existing post, basically the guidelines are the same for an impassioned plea. Same length, you're accomplishing some of the same things, but instead of addressing one of my ideas directly from my video, you're addressing something that someone else has said in response to my video. Right? You can mention my video if it's appropriate, but you need to take issue with, disagree with a post. I don't want you to concur, to just throw warm fuzzies at someone and say, yeah, great observation, I agree. I want you to find an observation you disagree with. Okay? Some post that's already up underneath that video. And that you're going to be doing that for freaks and women talking. Looks like, yeah. Okay, so very similar. Screenshot analyses. This is a different kind of assignment. You're going to watch a film, one of the assigned Path 1 films, and you're going to do this for, let's see, 3 of our films. I think they're listed. Yeah, they're listed on the course guidelines page, and on the Path 1 calendar. And yeah, I keep on reminding you in lots of different places of the deadlines, so make sure you take note of those. With the screenshot analyses, you're going to watch a film, split it in half, and take a screenshot from each half of the film and analyze that screenshot using all the technical jargon that you're being introduced to in this course. Make sure that you create professional looking screen captures. Do not use your cell phone. Okay? Now, Firefox often works for screen captures. If it doesn't for you, use Chrome, follow these directions, and it will work for you. Chrome does not cost you any money to download. Use this browser, follow these instructions for disabling hardware acceleration, and then you will be able to take screen captures at Amazon Prime, at Canopy, at YouTube. Now, not everything is going to allow you to take screen captures. If you try to screen capture on Macs, for instance, I've heard from students that it does not allow that. I don't know that Apple does either, Apple TV. This is why I tell you to watch at least these films from Amazon or YouTube, right? And then if some of them are free through Canopy. Screenshot analyses should be written after you have watched my intro video, looked over my study questions for the film, watched the film itself, and watched my video lecture, right? Because it is important that you do not reproduce anything that I have said. In fact, before I grade these, I will be rewatching my video and rewatching my lecture, because some of these lectures I've already made, most of them I'm grading now, to make sure that you do not repeat what I have said. It is important. This is one of the few ways I can think to make sure that students are actually doing the work in an asynchronous class. So if you want credit, you need to make sure that you do not reproduce what I have said. So take notes as you watch my lecture. You are invited, however. I have all these study questions, right, that you're familiarizing yourself with. Feel free to address an issue I raised in a study question during a screenshot analysis assignment. And I encourage that. It's not necessary, but it could be helpful. For each screenshot analysis, put the timestamp for it so that I can look it up. I own most of these films on Amazon, so if I have a question, I'm going to look something up really quickly myself. Make sure that each paragraph that you generate, because these are only each paragraph is 75 to 125 words, and you're generating 2 of these paragraphs. Make sure that it and the image it's describing appear on the same page. Wrap text around the image, and I explain how to do that in Word right here. Make the image as large as possible so I can actually make out what's going on without the text spilling onto the next page. 2-page assignment, 1 image, and its description or its analysis on 1 page. Then I scroll to the next page, new image, and the analysis of that. These are the kinds of things that you should address. Only 1 per image. Lighting or color. Framing and composition. Now, if you decide to describe camera movement, like a pan or a tilt or something like this, then you need to make sure that you include 2 or 3 images so that I can actually see how the camera is changing its target, right? Camera angle, 1 screenshot. Focus and depth, 1. Editing, cut, you need at least 2 or 3 so we can see what was and then what was later, right, as you cut from one scene to the next, like if it's a match cut. And then a transition, a dissolve transition, iris in, wipe, you would want to talk about why that transition might have been used, okay, or a fade to black or whatever. And then sound design. If you want to talk about the film score, if you want to discuss the non-diegetic sound, Foley sound that's been created, something like this, you can address that. 1 of these per screenshot, right? Original analysis, I think this should go without saying, but don't use generative AI. I confronted a number of students, in-person students, about this, and there were consequences, right? You don't want to fail a class because you're using generative AI. So I encourage you, write your own material. Secondary sources are not, I do not want any secondary sources used at all. This is supposed to be your own analysis in the screenshot analyses. And remember, don't reproduce any analysis I provide in either my intro to the film or the lecture. Concision, as always, is key. Be concise, precise, and short. These are going to be turned in as a Word doc. Do not send things to me as a PDF. Do not send documents to me that then require me to ask you for permission to access the document. Send them to me as an attachment. Okay? Via email, not via Canvas. We will only use Canvas for recording grades. And I have some examples here of screenshot analysis assignments that should help you calibrate your efforts, right? So if you want to see what some strong examples look like and a weak example, just click on those links, and then it'll take you to some examples. All right, the term paper outline at the end of the course is going to involve, or the term paper is going to involve 3 stages. 1, the outline. 2, feedback to the outline. And 3, the final draft of the term paper. So you're going to decide, you're going to determine whether the 2 films reach similar or very divergent conclusions about a particular idea. So you want to choose a Path 1 film that seems to address something similar that's caught your eye in the Path 2 film you've been assigned to. Remember, send me your top 7 Path 2 film preferences sometime in week 1 by email. All right, so the term paper requires you to narrow your focus quickly, right? This is only a 4 to 5 page paper. So you need to figure out, what issue do I want to address? Both of these, maybe my Path 2 film concerns representations of gender that intrigue me, and I want to talk about gender in that and another Path 1 film. Or maybe the portrayal of violence I found particularly moving or poignant. Perhaps there's a commentary here about social climbing, or about representations of certain ethnicities. Or maybe both of these films do something consistently strange with camera work. So you want to focus on technique. You need to say something about technique, regardless of your subject matter. You'll notice I want you to focus your argument around 2 screenshots, and there needs to be some of that analysis that we've been performing in this class. So there are 2 screenshots per film, so that's 3 to 4, or 2 to 4 screenshots for the entire paper, 1 to 2 per film. And this is what I want in terms of the screenshots. This is the size they should be. They should be 3 inches wide, each of these. That's about 750 pixels at 150 resolution. Regardless of the aspect ratio, this is how wide each of the images should be in your term paper. Okay, so more details about what a works cited entry should look like, and so on. For the term paper, you can use secondary sources, not film criticism at all, but you can draw on whatever your major is, if it seems to be relevant, or sociology or psychology or some other course you've taken recently that you think is definitely applicable. Then you're going to turn in, so the first stage of this whole term paper assignment, this is kind of an overview here, is turning in an outline of the term paper and an explanation, a video explanation. You're going to create a single-spaced 2-page outline for the term paper. This should say 2-paged, and to make this point absolutely clear, I'm going to change that right now. A 2-page outline for your term paper. Let's see. Okay. Before you write the paper, this outline should include a thesis, every claim you're going to make. Think of the claims as topic sentences for a paragraph, the evidence you're going to use to support the claim, and then a second page with the screen captures, the 2 to 4 screen captures you're using. And this, let's just call this a 3rd page, since the outline itself should be 2 pages, single-spaced. Okay. Just editing as we go here. So you're going to walk me and the other two of your Path 2 group mates through your outline in this short video that you submit. Post it, send us the URL, and where you're describing the outline and the thinking behind it, right? That's a 2 to 3 minute video. And then you're going to create, let's see, feedback, all right? Oh, by the way, here's some sample outlines, right? I'm not concerned so much with format as I am with content and clarity, right? And whether the argument is convincing. Now, when you provide feedback, this is a short video that you're going to create, 2 to 3 minute video. You are going to provide feedback to your peers' outline, having watched their video. And you, because you are familiar with the same Path 2 film, are in a perfect position to provide ample feedback about particular scenes they've not yet mentioned that maybe they should include in their argument that might make their argument even stronger, right? So you want to give them feedback about content and also organization. If you feel as though the pieces could be moved around somehow, please do not spend your time on grammar when it comes to the term paper outline. I actually encourage, hear me, I actually encourage students to write the outlines using sentence fragments. Maybe not for the thesis statement, but for some of the points you're trying to make. Just get the idea across. You don't have to have complete sentences, although some of the sample outlines you'll look at do. I'm more interested in detail. How many details have you packed into this outline? Okay. And you'll be turning in the final draft of the term paper midnight on Friday, July 26th. So make sure that you turn these in on time because you do not want to lose 2 points per day because they're turned in late. That's due on actually a Tuesday. That is not correct. So, because I just changed this. Actually, you know what? Nope. Yeah. I am going to have it due Tuesday, July 23rd. Okay? That is when the this term paper is going to be due. Because I want us to be done with it before we jump into women talking. So Tuesday, July 23rd. All right? Okay, if you have questions, and I'm sure some of you may, go ahead and ask me via email. And I may sometimes include everyone in my response just to make sure that everyone receives the information if I've overlooked something. If you find any broken links in the website, because there are many, many links, please let me know immediately. You actually get brownie points for pointing out broken links. It does not embarrass me. I appreciate it. All right. See you in the asynchronous classroom.